Hey everyone. So in this video, we're going to talk about two different forefoot bridging strategies that we can use for clients experiencing any kind of lower leg musculoskeletal complaint, limitation, or pain experience. Okay. So let's say, for example, we have two clients with very, very similar complaints around the foot and the ankle or the knee, for example. But each client has a different foot behavior. For example, client one, let's say, has a limitation in experiencing foot pronation, where they express a very rigid foot position, a very supinated foot. Client two expresses more of a pronated foot behavior, where they struggle to express more supination. Okay, so how can we manipulate the foot behavior during these forefoot bridges? You'll often see these foot bridges on our Instagram page, and they're very good strategies to use to help to share workload across the lower limb. For example, in this strategy here, if you think of the joint moments, we have an extension moment at the ankle. Depending on the extension of the knee, we may have a tibial flexion component. And of course, for the femur, we have a femoral extension component as well from a force production standpoint. But why might we use a foam roller versus the wedge here? We may use a foam roller here to facilitate more of a pronation bias. Because of the rounded edge, and we'll bring this up on the video here to bring into the full screen so you can get a better appreciation of what kind of behavior it facilitates at the foot. But because we have, bring this into HD if we have it. But because we have the foam roller, what it allows us to do is to place the metatarsal heads. And because of the rounded edge, the rounded edge will actually create more of a dorsiflexion of the first metatarsal. And that will allow for the big toe then to round onto the top of the foam roller. So that dorsiflexion of the first metatarsal is a very important component of allowing for midfoot pronation. Okay. Whereas in the other video you'll see, when we have a wedge, when we allow for some toe extension, this will facilitate more first metatarsal plantar flexion. So if we get into this position, we have the knee at 90 degrees here, the forefoot on the foam roller, it will naturally, again, create that first metatarsal dorsiflexion as we drive load then down into the forefoot, maintain the ankle position, and then bridge the pelvis proximally. This will allow us to get some load into the hamstrings, into the plantar flexors with more of a pronated foot behavior. Okay, so we'll show you that again. So again, maintaining the position. So getting set up in this position where we have the forefoot in contact with the foam roller, knee at 90, driving load down into the foam roller, maintaining ankle position, knee position, hip position. It will just allow us to get that load into the hamstrings and the plantar flexors of the ankle with the foot biased towards more pronation. Compare this then to the bridge. Using the bridge and using the slanted surface will allow us to then position or pre-position the toe in some extension. What that will do then is it will allow us to then pivot around that metatarsal head a bit more easily and continue to express some big toe extension, which will allow us to facilitate more plantar flexion of the first metatarsal. That plantar flexion of the first metatarsal here will allow us to facilitate more midfoot supination. Okay, so same proximal positioning. We have the knee still at 90 degrees. We're still driving load down into plantar flexion to get some load into the plantar flexors, to get some load into the glutes, into the proximal hamstrings. And then we're maintaining the foot in that supinated position. One of the reasons you may choose to use this, for example, let's say it's a client that has a foot and ankle injury and they're too sensitive around the foot and the ankle to be able to concentrate all that load into the plantar flexors. We can use a strategy like this to help distribute that workload across more muscular tissues proximally, but while still getting load into the ankle plantar flexors while we facilitate the behavior that we want to try and facilitate at the foot. Okay, so really nice way to distribute load early on, but still allow us to get some load into the muscular tissues that we're looking to get load into. Okay, so like I said, if we have a foot and ankle behavior that we're trying to facilitate, if we're dealing with a client that has a foot and ankle limitation, pain experience, for example, and so concentrating load, let's say, for example, you're looking to get some load into the ankle plantar flexors in the standing position. You're concentrating more load into the foot and ankle there. Let's say that's too much load for the client at that point in time. It may make them very sensitive. They may experience discomfort and pain. Using a strategy like this, then we can use to still facilitate the same foot behavior and ankle behavior, but we're partitioning or shifting and distributing some load into the proximal structures to help facilitate that load into the structures that we're actually trying to direct load into, but through more of a graded exposure process. So again, two great positions, two great strategies we can use, but two ways in which we can manipulate the foot behavior based on the unique client's unique limitations.